All right, in this second series in the floating, we're going to look at an alternate method for clearing and floating. So let's jump back here to our code we've been working on, and we'll set this up a little bit different this time. So we've still got our red div and we still have our blue div, and we're going to come in here and delete these floats. So we'll delete all of these floats. So just recapping our previous two methods, the first method was applying the clear fix hack. The second method was to float the parent, and we're going to look at the third method for making a parent element contain the children when the children are floated. So again, this is just back to default, so let's come back here and save and refresh. So I have my wrapper tag and I have the two child tags. We have no floating or any fancy CSS positioning applied. This is just the natural document flow here. And we're going to now float each of these elements again. So this time I'm going to say float left on the red tag and also float left on the blue tag to illustrate what happens if you float two items left. So I'm going to refresh, and you'll notice when I float left on both of them, they just stack next to one another. And they will stack next to one another as long as there's available space. So as long as my wrapper tag has enough room, these will just keep stacking one onto the other if you keep floating them left. But as soon as there's no more space, so if I resize my browser window below the point, and in fact my browser window actually won't let me resize past this point, so I've actually got to make these a little bit wider to illustrate this. So I'm going to come in here and I'll make the width on each of these 300 and 300, and then I'll save and refresh here. So let me refresh. So you can see there's still enough space, but as soon as my browser window gets below that amount of space, it jumps below it. So when you float two items left, they'll stack in a line, in a horizontal line, if there's enough space for them to stack. Once you get below that space, they just jump down below. So that's kind of what happens when you float two items left. Now, we still have the issue that the parent element is not containing the children, because these are removed from the document flow when you float. So the third method is by using the property clear on the HTML. And in order to do this, I have to actually introduce one more tag. And I'm just going to use a break tag in this instance. So this is kind of maybe an older method of clearing the floats. I think kind of a new and improved method is the clear fix hack. However, this is kind of an older method, but it still works just fine. I'm going to add a break tag, and I'm going to say style equals clear. Or not style, whoops, I want to say class equals clear. And then I'm going to come up here and say dot clear. So I'm adding this class definition, and I'm going to say clear both. Now when you're clearing is used to clear the float. The options are left to clear left floated elements, and it's right to clear right floated elements, and it's both to clear both left and right floated elements. Typically you'll just use both, but occasionally you'll need to use one or the other. Now once I set this to clear both, I'm going to jump back here and refresh, and now you can see in fact that parent does in fact contain the children, and it stays this time at 100% wide. So this is kind of like the clear fix hack method. Now the reason this works is a little bit difficult to understand, but you can kind of think of it like this. When I say class equals clear, or when I assign this break tag and I make it clear both, what I'm saying is the break has to visually appear after these floated elements. In other words, it has to visually clear the two floated elements. So if this is floated left and this is floated left, and after that there's a break tag and it has to clear both of them, it can't appear till down here. And then once this appears down here, the wrapper tag says, oh, the break tag's down here, so I now have a child and it's down here, so I need to go all the way around that tag. Now I know that's a little bit difficult to understand, especially visually here through the video presentation. But maybe an easier way would be to, instead of doing a break tag, let's make this a div tag. And let's make this div tag this clear. Let's give it a height and a width and a background color as well. So we'll say background color is, let's see, what have we not used? Purple. And we'll just say width is maybe 100 and height is 100, and save and refresh. So now you can see that this has some dimension to it. So again, this purple tag is being cleared. So I'm clearing the left and the right floats, which means it has to appear after the cleared elements. And because it has to appear after the cleared elements, the big giant wrapper tag says, oh, I now have a tag here. These are still removed from the document flow, but now this tag, you can kind of think of it as restoring document flow. So this tag restored document flow. So now the wrapper tag finally wraps around both of the floated elements, and then everything from here on out will be in normal document flow, assuming I do not alter those elements with left and right floats. If later on down here I had more divs and I made one left and made one right with floats, I would have to clear those floats as well to restore the normal document flow. Otherwise, everything would start to overlap and my layout would break. So that's a quick introduction of floats. In the next video tutorial, we're going to build the same layout we did with CSS positioning, only this time we'll use floats to pull it off.